Dragons are probably the defining symbol of fantasy art and have been a popular subject matter for artists for hundreds of years. But unlike realist painters who can reference the world around them for accurate portraits and landscapes, fantasy artists are stuck having to piece together a dragon from bits and pieces of different animal references. This makes things a little bit more cumbersome for creating our fantasy art, so what can we do to help? Well, making things a little bit easier for us is an app called Dragon Mannequin. This is a fully articulated 3D dragon model that is perfect for fantasy artists out there who are looking for the exact dragon pose to suit their compositional needs. The level of movement options available for the dragon model are quite substantial, giving the user near complete control over every area of the model. Head, legs, torso, wings, the individual toes, as well as complete control over the full length of the neck and the tail. This allows for a near limitless number of body positional changes, meaning the artist can puppeteer the mannequin into pretty much any pose he or she can think of. Posing the model is pretty straightforward, but to make things a little easier, the joints can be highlighted with blue markers to show where adjustments can be made, whilst the yellow marker will indicate which joint is currently selected. Coupled with this are the camera controls, which allow for full 360-degree positioning, as well as zoom and depth controls to create extreme foreshortening and dynamic camera angles. The camera controls are not the easiest or most intuitive to use, so it may take a little time to develop the muscle memory to control it. For those who may be having some issues trying to get the exact pose they have in mind, or are not 100% sure about how Dragon's anatomy should function, there's a series of animated clips you can choose from to help get the pose that you want. This is probably the app's most useful feature, as it takes away a lot of the guesswork with posing animal anatomy. Here you can scroll back and forth along each animated clip until you get the preferred frame that you want, which you can then refine further with the joint controls. The animation selection here is quite numerous, ranging from simple walking and running cycles to attacking cycles to flying, landing, and even dying animations. On top of the wide range of joint controls, the app allows for up to 4 light sources to be added to the model. One is the default environmental lighting, the other 3 are additional spotlights that can be whatever strength, position, or color you desire. Wanting an even more believable reference, then click on the body icon twice to bring up the skin, texture, and color options for a range of traditional dragon textures. You can't unfortunately choose your own custom color, but if you're only concerned with a general dragon reference pose, there's enough options here to work from. You can also change the environment the dragon resides in. In this case, you do have the option of changing the background color, but you don't have the same option for the ground platform. The choice of environment doesn't really affect the lighting conditions. However, the water option does give a very useful reflection reference, the depth of which can be adjusted accordingly. With our pose all set, we can now export the image by tapping the draw icon. Here we can export with or without a grid, or export it with or without a background as a high-resolution PNG file. Like the pose that you've created, then you can save the scene for further adjustments in the future. For those who are looking for a few additional mannequins to control, the developer also has a series of sister apps for other beasts and creatures, including wolf, tyrannosaurus, and lion. One app in particular stands out as a must-have for fantasy artists, and that's the horse mannequin. This acts identical to the dragon mannequin, but unlike the dragon, where there's only one model, this app gives you 3 different breeds of horses to choose from and puppeteer. The only downside to this is that unless you're familiar with the horse anatomy and movement, it's not easy to position the horse in a believable way. This makes the animation options for the horse very valuable, as it covers pretty much every type of horse gait and movement there is. Everything from trotting, cantering, galloping, and even walking up and down very steep inclines. For those looking for the perfect pose for their noble steed, this is definitely the app for you. This, however, does lead to the biggest downside for these apps, and that's the fact that their most useful features, that being the inbuilt animations, as well as the skin color options, are all behind a paywall. The free version allows you to still pose the models, but the vast majority of the animations are locked up until you purchase the app. And if you want to dive into the expanded series of sister apps, the cost really starts to add up. The other downside for the Dragon Mannequin is that there's only one model to choose from, and it's a European-style dragon. For those looking for a 2-legged wyvern or an Asian-style dragon, this app is probably going to come up just a little bit short. The last issue is on the development side, and that there doesn't appear to be any more work going into this series of apps. The last update on the developer's website was 3 years ago, where there were promises of more Animal Mannequin apps in development, but nothing since then. So if you're purchasing the Dragon or any of the other mannequins, it comes at the risk of there being no further updates or future software fixes. But if all you're really looking for is a general Dragon pose for your fantasy artwork, you're going to be hard pressed to find another app that will do as good a job as Dragon Mannequin. It has its issues, but it's also a useful tool for all the Dragon lovers and artists out there, and it's available on iOS and Android.